Hey guys, Sam here with the Film Fan Club, breaking down, I guess, what would be the culmination of Marvel's Netflix universe, Phase 1? I don't know. It's the first season of The Defenders. Let's talk about it. This story ties together the storylines of Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage all really well together, I think. It's really interesting to get to see these separate people come together in what seems like a very organic way, honestly, in the very beginning of the show. The way that Matt Murdock, who has retired from being Daredevil, he is reluctant to go back in, but he has just this yearning to help people, and when these giant earthquakes kind of start happening, he's just got to go out and do his thing. And then Jessica Jones, she gets a case, and she starts investigating this architect who gets eventually tied into the building, the headquarters of the Hand being the villains of Daredevil season 2, and also the show Iron Fist. They're after Iron Fist himself, who terrible character. We'll get into that in a second. And then Luke Cage. Luke Cage, he's just looking out for the guys of Harlem, the kids of Harlem who might be getting caught up in all this hand business, and it's no good for them. The show does a pretty good job of giving you a sense of each of their characters before we really get into the main storyline. If you haven't even seen any of the previous shows, you could probably jump right into this show and be pretty well off. It's really cool to get to see once again. And then Sigourney Weaver, she's the main villain here, and she is really a really cool character. I mean, anytime you add Sigourney Weaver to a role, it is just going to make the project 10 times better, and that's a guarantee. So anytime you cut her short from a role, it kind of is a huge letdown, and that kind of is what they did here. They cut her short at the end of the series. I'm jumping all over the place. Let's kind of talk about the plot a little bit, because the Hand, they're trying to mine for the source of eternal life, which is basically from these dead dragons, which are underneath New York, but they need to get to that through Iron Fist's Iron Fist. So they're trying to kind of hunt him down throughout a lot of the show, which puts our heroes on the run, and that's something that really cool, a really cool, unique kind of tactic that they use, getting to put these characters in a remote location, just kind of lay it all out on the line and interact with each other. We got some really good episodes in the middle of the show, like episode like 5 or 6 or so, whenever they're just kind of trying to hash out these really tough choices and figure out what they're going to do next, and seeing how each character uniquely kind of analyzes the situation. It's a really cool portrayal of how unique these guys are. You know, they're all very different characters who are put in an unlikely scenario together, and they may not even work together in the best way, which is makes it feel a little bit less earned in the fact that they don't show you them eventually kind of learning to work as a unit. They just kind of do by the end of the show. This show takes a lot of shortcuts, is what I'm going to say, because we get it reintroduced rather, to the character of Elektra. This whole time they're building her up as this kind of torn soul between her past life and her love for Matt Murdock, and this kind of prophecy of the Black Sky, this ultimate assassin that Sigourney Weaver's Alexandra character is kind of crafted for her. And then in halfway through the show, they do this just quick turn that I kind of foreshadowed earlier, where Elektra kills Alexandra, and she is like, I'm not the Black Sky, I'm Elektra Nachios, I'm in charge of the Hand now, and I just want to do bad things for the sake of doing bad things. And we lose a lot of the heart and soul, I feel like, of this show, because I think they could have had a really good storyline where she's constantly torn between her sadistic instincts, kind of, which is maybe something she had in her past life. Maybe that could be tied to the Alexandra assassin story, kind of part of her mind, and then the rest of her, her soul, I guess, could be tied to her love for Matthew, or maybe not that, because that sounds kind of. But anyway, it could be, they could do a better representation of maybe good versus evil within the character of Elektra than they ended up doing, I feel like, because once she kills Alexandra and renounces the name Black Sky, it's just, I'm Elektra, I'm a bad person. And I kind of lose interest in seeing her become redeemed, because she's just basically like the Joker. And it's like, what if instead of Batman trying to defeat the Joker, he just tried to redeem the Joker the whole time? It's like, well, we as an audience know that the Joker's irredeemable, so there's not really much you can do there. And that's how I felt like with Matt Murdock, which makes his ultimate sacrifice at the end kind of a little bit less poignant. And even though they beautifully demonstrate it, his love for her and his undying kind of want to kind of live life with her and, live happily ever after, but it just doesn't logically make sense, and it's really hard for me to suspend my disbelief in a lot of areas, and including the sense that this whole plot comes down to tearing down a building to defeat this global organization, the global organization, the Hand, the crazy, undying force, unyielding force. They have to destroy a building, and I understand that I don't know. They needed a way to to tie this up with a bow, but it's hard for me to buy into, okay, if you destroy a building, this global organization who has influence in every corner of the earth and it has someone in every shadow in every organization, it's just everywhere. One building will take him down. It doesn't. It just seems a little illogical, but whatever. And then the fact that Matt Murdock sacrifices his life for someone who I think is way beyond saving, and they don't do a good job of demonstrating to the audience that maybe she is. Maybe there is that little speckle of light within her. We don't get that until the very end, where she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Matthew," and whatever. And it's like, too little, too late. I'm not into your character as an audience member. This show, I feel like, was really mishandled in a lot of ways, and then the fact that Matt Murdock, they do it, it's mishandled in a lot of ways, I guess, but it's not mishandled in some ways, because whenever Matt Murdock and Elektra both die at the end of the show, it's really beautifully done, and it's like very poignant. I'm like, wow, okay, he's dying for stupid reasons, but I can tell that he's into it by the acting on Charlie Cox's part, and the fact that it's all really well done, that it makes it even more upsetting that he's not dead, because we see we go through all this, like at the church we get to see Karen, and Foggy at the police precinct, still waiting for him to come through the door and see that he's okay, and he never does. And we have this conversation with Foggy that he feels bad. He's the person that gave Matt the suit to go fight that battle that night, and then he doesn't come back. But then 2 seconds later we realize he's okay. He's gonna be fine. He's just got some bruises or nips or whatever. Some nips. What? He's gonna be fine is the basically thing. And then probably they didn't find Elektra's body, so she's probably fine too. So we probably get to rehash this storyline again soon. It was a letdown. It reminded me of Batman vs. Superman. It felt like a cheap death that I knew wasn't a death, but they tried to sell it as a death, but then at the end told us it wasn't a death. I have heard this sets up the Daredevil Born Again storyline from the comics. That could be really cool. I hear it has some good potential for Kingpin to return, Bullseye to make his first appearance in the Daredevil show. So there's a lot of cool stuff that they could do with this whole setup, and I understand that you can't kill Matt Murdock, but why fake us out then if you're gonna, I don't know, maybe they've really got to do a great Daredevil season 3 to make up for this really, really shitty fake out, I think. That was really unneeded, unnecessary, and it was really well done whenever I thought he was dead, but then when you tell us he's not dead, I feel cheated a little bit. I felt cheated. So this show was overall a little bit of a disappointment. It started out strong, kind of faltered a little bit in the end. I feel like a major turning point for my enjoyment of the show was whenever Sigourney Weaver died, and whenever she died, I'm like, I'm not interested in this show, and major flaws, and I think were in the characters of Elektra and Iron Fist and their storylines, and maybe even their portrayals a little bit by the actors. Maybe not Elektra so much, but the character of Danny Rand maybe could have used a little bit of a better actor behind him. Glad I didn't watch Iron Fist. I'm looking forward to seeing Daredevil Season 3 and, of course, Jessica Jones Season 2. She had her humor, and the little bits of humor throughout this show were really well done, and I like the more human aspects of this show. The smaller character moments were done really well. The action spectacle kind of showed the budget of a Marvel TV show a little bit more so than I'd like to, and I feel like they're kind of trying to get a little bit too big, because at some point you can just call the Avengers, Kind of going back into my suspension of disbelief there. It kind of maybe I'm looking forward to a more stripped down human storyline next. I'm looking forward to hoping that Marvel Netflix does that next. Anyways, I'm going to give I'm going to give The Defenders Season 1 like 5.5 out of 10. Well, thanks for checking this video out. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, please don't write any hate mail in the comment section below. If you do, that's okay too. Anyway, subscribe to this YouTube channel if you did like this content. I've got a lot of other TV recaps for Jessica Jones, the first 3 episodes of Luke Cage, and a lot of other stuff, Game of Thrones. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well while you're at it, @Samuel D. Carrico, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks again.